The NBA's wokeness ambassador LeBron James targets a police officer who actually saved a girl's life. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats vote to make Washington, D.C. a state. Plus, squad members like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez continue to support defunding the police while they get private security. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you had a great week. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with the NBA's wokeness leader, LeBron James, because he is under fire, not only for a tweet that incites violence, but also for a follow-up and so-called apology. Because while targeting a police officer, LeBron James continues to push an anti-police narrative that has no basis in fact whatsoever. That's right. In his zeal to condemn a police officer, to target him, to call him out, LeBron also fails to mention one critical aspect, and that is the police officer's actions likely saved the lives of two African-American girls. So first, the incident, and here's the story. Ma'Khia Bryant was shot and killed Tuesday after police responded to a 911 call that someone was trying to stab her. It is not known who made the call. Body camera video shows Ma'Khia, who appears to be armed with a knife, chasing a girl outside a home. The girl who was being chased falls on the lawn in front of the cop. The officer screams at Ma'Khia to get down before she targets another girl on the hood of a car, the video shows. As she swings what appears to be a knife, the officer fires several shots, killing her. So that's what happened. Two black girls were attacked with a knife. The attacker is told to get down by police. She targets a girl and then he shoots her to save that girl's life. That's what he did. That's what happened. So what does LeBron James do? And remember, this is following the conviction of Derek Chauvin in the George Floyd trial. So Derek Chauvin is convicted. This incident happens. And what does LeBron do? He gets on Twitter. He posts this. Okay, he posts a picture of the police officer with the words, "You're next," followed by sands running through an hourglass and hashtag accountability. Can you believe that? He posted the picture of the police officer, and then he didn't imply, he flat out stated, "You're next." How is that not inciting violence? How is that not endangering the life of the police officer? Then, as the heat started to build, as the blowback started to build, LeBron James took down the tweet and he explained it like this. "I'm so tired of seeing black people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system, and they always use our words to create more racism. I'm so desperate for more accountability." It's not about one officer. The picture was one officer. He puts the words, "You're next," talking about one police officer. And then this whole thing about being sick and tired of black people being killed by police, I can't stand that. I find it so disheartening and enraging because as someone who cares about what's going on in the inner cities, rhetoric like that, anti-police rhetoric, solves nothing. When you look at the stats, the millions upon millions and millions of police encounters that happen every year, this type of violence hardly ever happens. It hardly ever happens. Yet every single week in every single city across the country, you've got blacks dying by handguns, dying by violence, mostly committed by other blacks. Where is LeBron James in all that? Where is his marches? Where's the statements? Where is he actually doing something to prevent this violence? Nothing, nothing at all. But given the chance to jump on the left-wing narrative, he takes it. He takes it just like all these corporations do to show their wokeness without having any clue about what's actually going on. Now, the National Fraternal Order of Police blasted LeBron James' statement, and they said this: "LeBron James, with his vast resources and influence, should educate himself and frankly has a responsibility to do so on the facts before weighing in. This is disgraceful and extremely reckless. The officer saved a young girl's life. No amount of gaslighting will change that fact." Amen to that. And here's one more thing on this topic. This incident with the police officer shooting this girl, preventing the stabbings of potentially 2 other girls. That incident happened in Ohio. Here's what else happened in Ohio this week. A 13-year-old girl was charged with murder after the fatal stabbing of another 13-year-old girl on Monday. The incident happened around 9 p.m. in the Winton Hills neighborhood of Cincinnati. The victim, Nyaria Givens, was slashed in the neck with a pocket knife during a verbal argument with another girl, according to court documents obtained by Fox 19 Cincinnati. Givens later died at the hospital. All right, so last time I checked LeBron James' Twitter account, there was no posting that, wow, he wishes police officers would have been there. Maybe this girl's life could have been saved. Nothing like that. And you know what else? There's no coverage of this from the media. There's been no action from Twitter to ban LeBron James for inciting violence. He targeted someone. He said, "You're next." No one's saying anything. ESPN's not saying anything. All those woke corporations that support LeBron James, they've said nothing. The NBA has said nothing at all because he's promoting the approved narrative. Give me a break. All right, so next let's talk about Nancy Pelosi. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making our push for 150,000 subscribers, and we can do it with your help. All right, let's talk some politics, because now that they have control of everything, the Democrats are going crazy. The latest move, Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats have approved a measure they voted to make Washington, D.C. a state. And here's the story. The House of Representatives passed legislation Thursday which would give statehood to Washington, D.C., making it the 51st state in the U.S. H.R. 51 passed the House 216 to 208. The bill would designate Washington Douglas Commonwealth as the 51st state while still having a separate federal district. Republicans have argued that the move is unconstitutional and that Democrats want D.C. statehood in order to add 2 Democrat senators in Congress as well as 1 Democrat representative in the House. It's just so crazy, folks. A switch of 4 votes and this bill fails. It doesn't get passed. It dies right there. That's how close things are in the House. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't seem to care. And how outrageous this bill, it still maintains a federal district. What about the people living there? Their argument makes no sense because it's all about power and it's all about control. Here's former House Speaker Newt Gingrich giving a little bit of the background, the history of Washington, D.C.
The founding fathers carved an area out of Washington, out of Virginia and Maryland to create the national capital. They did so because they'd had riots in Philadelphia as people tried to, blackmail the government. And so they consciously wanted a district that would be separate and would be, in a sense, outside of politics.
So Washington, D.C. was created to be a non-state, outside of the statewide politics. If you want representation, you can literally walk down the road and live in Virginia or Maryland. No one is forcing you to live there. And yet, that's the main argument of the Democrats. Jen Psaki, she said the same thing at yesterday's White House press briefing.
President Biden strongly supports D.C. statehood, and we will all, our administration, will work with Congress to get it passed. We put out a statement of administration policy in strong support of H.R. 51 just this morning. His view is that we are the denial of voting representation in Congress and local self-government to the 712,000 residents of our nation's capital violates 2 of our nation's founding principles: no taxation without representation and consent of the governed.
Folks, this is a power grab, plain and simple. By making Washington, D.C. a state, the Democrats immediately get 2 new senators. 2 new senators in the Senate. They'll be Democrats. Another House member will be a Democrat. It is a power play, just like pointed out by GOP leader Kevin McCarthy. The Democrats' D.C. statehood scheme is about 2 things: consolidating power and enacting radical policies. The American people see right through this blatant power grab. So with the filibuster in place, there is no way this will get through the Senate. No way D.C. becomes a state. But here's the thing. The Democrats are pushing to get rid of the filibuster because if they do that, they know that D.C. can become a state, that they can pack the Supreme Court with 4 more liberal, extremist, radical judges because they don't care about fairness. They don't care about equality. They don't care about representation. They want power and control. That's what they're all about. All right, so next let's talk about what's going on with America's law enforcement and the fallout and hypocrisy of pushing this defund the police movement. First, on the fallout side, you see what's going on. Minneapolis voted to defund the police. Austin voted to defund the police. Seattle, Portland, you name it. And what's happening? Crime is going up. Violent crime is going up. Murders are going up. And they wonder why. Because they're defunding the police. On the hypocrisy side, you've got people like the members of the squad who keep calling to defund the police, yet they're going around with private security. Defund the police means we aren't protected, but they don't care because they continue to spend thousands of dollars on private security to keep them safe. Here's the story. In January of 2020, Ocasio-Cortez criticized New York City's proposed $1 billion cut from the police department budget, claiming it wasn't enough. Defunding police means defunding police, Ocasio-Cortez said. It does not mean budget tricks or funny math. It does not mean moving school police officers from the NYPD budget to the Department of Education's budget so the exact same police remain in schools. In January, February, and March of 2021, Ocasio-Cortez spent $3,000 per month on a security consultant. But that's not all. As reported by the Daily Caller, in January 25th, 2021, $24,000. January 19th, $4,000. February 2nd, $850. And February 25th, $1,500 at Security and Investigation, Inc. for security detail in Houston. So that's just AOC. Ilhan Omar has spent thousands. Rashida Tlaib has spent thousands. And then there's Democrat freshman Cori Bush. Back in December, she tweeted this. With all due respect, Mr. President, let's talk about losing people. We lost Michael Brown Jr. We lost Breonna Taylor. We're losing our loved ones to police violence. It's not a slogan. It's a mandate for keeping our people alive. Defund the police. Well, that was back in December. Since then, she spent over $30,000 on private security. Just in January, February, and March, over $30,000. But they want to defund the police, so we're not protected because they'll spend probably taxpayer money, campaign contributions to keep them safe. Give me a break. All right, so next, let's talk about this. We've got Friday. It's Friday here. We've had LeBron James, Nancy Pelosi, the squad. We need to ask them, do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call, like, I don't know, a relaxed brain.
So first, more weirdness from Kamala Harris, because you know how she is. She gets asked a tough question, a serious question. She starts laughing about it. It's so weird. It's so inappropriate. Well, at a speech this week, she was trying to make a joke. She attributes the laughter to everybody else, even though no one was laughing. Here you go.
And we're going to make sure that these opportunities are equally available to women as well as men. Because there's an interesting fact, in case you didn't know, hard hats are actually unisex. Everybody's laughing.
So what is that? Talk about a joke falling flat. She says the audience is all cracking up and laughing, and it was silence. It was crickets. No one said a word, yet she's doing her weird laugh thing. It's just bizarre. So then we have Michigan State, who is holding this conference on learning and teaching, and they're also dividing the participants up by race. Jeez. Here's the story. An upcoming conference at Michigan State University titled Spring Conference on Teaching, Learning, and Student Success will feature affinity groups that segregate participants by skin color. According to a university email, there will be an affinity group for white folks and an affinity group for people of color. Affinity or caucus groups provide spaces for people to work within their own identity groups, read an email sent to event attendees. The university went on to say that such racial segregation will advance racial equity, adding, there is work for white people and people of color to do separately and together. There will be an affinity group for white folks and an affinity group for people of color, the email states. This is unreal, folks. The group that is segregated, the white group, that is supposed to, according to the story, be designed so they can focus on their inner whiteness, so they can focus on their white privilege. Basically, go off in this corner in your group and realize how bad you are, how no good you are, and then come back and tell us. That's what's going on at Michigan State. So now some in-depth reporting from the Babylon Bee. Couple headlines for you. LeBron James, he should like this one. Chicago police now required to ask for criminals' consent before arresting them. I love that. That's exactly what the left wants. A girl could be stabbing another girl, and what's a police officer supposed to do? Supposed to just wait until the attacker is finished and then say, okay, by the way, when you finish up, can I go ahead and arrest you then? And then we have this headline, which is bad news for people that were expecting to riot following the Derek Chauvin verdict. They'll have to wait another day. Frustrated looter has to wait until the next national outrage to liberate a TV. So what are the looters going to do? And here's the question. Since there wasn't a big riot, are the looters going to just put back what they took the last time? Are they going to just return that to the store? Or are they just waiting for another day? They've got their TV. Maybe the next incident, they'll add the stereo to it as well. It's just ridiculous. All right, folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. And we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-Minute News Hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.